Saturday, so it's time for another Saturday morning coffee episode. The first thing that I want to talk about today was Shrek. And if you've missed it, the trailer or I guess it's more like a short promo, was released for the new Shrek movie. And the original cast is returning. Fantastic. But then Shrek's in the trailer, Shrek's daughter is played by Zendaya. And a lot of people on the internet are complaining about the graphics. I personally don't think they're as bad as I think what people are saying. I'm very interested in what story they choose to show with it. The leading theory seems to be that the daughter wants to leave and Shrek holds her back until they both grow, and at the end of the movie she gets to move on and Shrek accepts it. And everyone's complaining about it. It is an overused story. I don't think that's what it is. Now, before I get into what I think it is, my main issue with this is that Shrek has triplets, not a single child. And it is really frustrating me that people are not bringing this up enough online. And everyone is just so focused on the CGI that nobody is really talking about the fact that he only has a single kid. And you could explain it away of typical ogre fashion. Maybe he just ate his other two kids, right? But I have a different theory. My theory is that it is a failure to launch plot. And Shrek wants her to move out and move on with her life like her other two siblings. And that's why they're gone. But she does not want to move on. She is happy to be staying at home and doesn't really want to, make something of her life or even have a life. I think that story is going to be... I think that's I think that matches societal issues today. It's really hard to move on and get out of the house and not necessarily always failure to launch, but how the hell are you gonna find a place to live in this economy, right? Anyways, I think a failure to launch story would be a great story, and I think it, like I said, it easily explains away the siblings. Maybe they're at college, or they have a job or something, or they're working at the castle and far away. Just whatever, they've gone on with their lives, but she just refuses and doesn't want to, and her and Shrek are at odds because of that. When I tell you that once that trailer dropped, it is all every time I try to sit down and relax, that trailer popped in my head, and I was just trying to figure out every way possible to explain why his other two kids weren't in the trailer. It was driving me nuts. And finally it popped in my head that maybe they're just at college or something. And then I went, oh, I bet it's a failure to launch story. Anyways, that is my theory for what's really going on in this new Shrek movie. I'm pretty convinced of it. But obviously we have 30 seconds of a trailer. So yeah, I don't know. It just struck me as particularly relevant that the siblings were not portrayed in the commercial. I'm glad I came up with this theory because it was really bugging me. It was on my mind way too much. Following up from the packing conversation last weekend, how early is it to be too early to start packing? Because I already have boxes and I'm going through my stuff, and we don't move for March, April, sometime in May. So we're I'm probably 8 weeks away, maybe 7 weeks away from actually moving anything. So is that too early? I can't decide how I feel about that, right? So like I said, I have a few packed boxes already, and I have a full plan in place to do certain things. I'm going to pack my patio. Since I'm not going to be able to really use it before I move out, it's going to be just the start of summer when I could finally, sit out there. Then I'm gonna go through everything and pack stuff from my storage closet, and then I think after that it's books and board games that are not like in our rotation of commonly played. Part of me always says, like, if I can pack it now, why can't doesn't that just make it trash and I could just like throw it away? Because if I don't need it for the next 8 weeks, do I really need it, kind of thing? And that obviously doesn't apply to everything, like, holiday supplies, camping stuff, that sort of thing. But I mean, if I'm not gonna touch books or I don't something for the next 8 weeks, it just always feels like, okay, if I can do that, why not just throw it away now? Um, I don't know. It's something I go through every time I move. I'm like, if I can pack it up, if it's the first thing I can pack up, I could probably get rid of it. Anyways, I have a full plan in place for this moving, and anyway, Faith is gone this weekend, and she's gone for about half a week, actually, about 4 or 5 days. So I've got several boxes ready to go. So I'm kind of thinking that by the time she gets back on Wednesday, I'm gonna have a healthy load of boxes sitting in my office ready to go, because I'm gonna have all this time on my hands, right? And I feel like I can go through my recording studio first, because that's where I have like my bookshelves and some games and just I don't want to say knickknacks, but like display items, I guess is what I could call it. So I'm pretty sure my studio room is going to be the first that's actually decimated this weekend. I was thinking why I have like the itch to pack up and clean all of this stuff so early. And I think it's because one time I had my family help me move and I wasn't done packing when they showed up. And I'm still hearing about it. So maybe I'm just like, oh, God, please, I do not want to hear this. So maybe that's why I'm packing everything so early. Just a small theory that I have. The other is that I'm such a planner and I know that everything is going to take more time than I would like to admit. And so maybe I'm just like, I need to, subconsciously get ahead of the game. The third and final major thing that's been on my mind this week, is that, and now I can finally actually say this because everyone that I needed to tell privately has been notified, so now I can talk about it publicly. But I have finally found an opportunity outside of higher education. I've got just a few weeks left before I leave and start working for an IT company, and my God, it feels amazing. So I have been working towards trying to get an opportunity like this since 2020. And I started relearning web development because when I was a kid, I learned like HTML and CSS and how to make video games with mostly drag and drop tools. And but ultimately, I talked myself out of pursuing a tech role before going into college, just because I was like, I kind of just like convinced myself that, okay, I'm not smart enough for this. I can't do this. And I didn't have anyone else that was in a position like this, like a tech role. I didn't know anyone else that knew coding. I entirely taught myself and with YouTube videos, and that was long before there were the resources that are available today. So I just didn't have anyone to talk to and find out what it was really going to be like. And as a first generation college student, I had no idea that you could, ask a college to talk to the, other students to find out, what it's like. There were a lot of things that as a first generation student, I really, really struggled with. And they were supposed to be like support classes and resources available to me as a first generation student that no one bothered to tell me existed until I was a senior. And I was not one of those students who didn't pay attention. I what's the word here? I started with maybe not. I don't remember. I voraciously paid attention anytime like I was in like official settings, and I always took notes, and I kept every material that was ever given to me just for reference later. And I'm telling you, I just never got notified or told that there were specific resources available, and it really made college a struggle. Anyways, I am so off track. Being a first generation student sucks. Let me look at my notes here. Anyways, yeah, so I talked myself out of pursuing it when I went to college, just because I didn't have anyone to talk to. And like tell me I don't need to be like intimidated by it, and that you learn just like everyone else. So instead, I chose a different path in college. I started off as business, but then so I had this car accident. Backtracking, I had a car accident when I was 16, and then when I was a freshman in college, I was pulled in to a court case because he was suing my insurance company. And the lawyer had me help with like jury selection and note taking on them. And he took me out to dinner afterwards, and it's like, I think you'd be a really great lawyer. You should switch to political science and philosophy because there's not a pre-law program at U of I, and you should go to law school. And I was like, oh my God, an adult college-educated person, this is new in my life, and he's giving me direction. Yes, I'll do it. So I did it. And that was a goddamn mistake that has set me down a path of difficulties and struggles for a long time. So I graduated with a bachelor's in political science and philosophy, a double. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, been struggling long enough. Law school was not it. Not going to do that. No thanks. But anyways, after the pandemic hit and I was stuck at home, what else was I going to do? So I learned some coding languages, and I was like, wow, this feels really, really good. And I really love the feeling of being able to create something and then seeing like solving the puzzle and finding the little issues, right? Everything that tells you that someone should do, development, I loved it, right? The puzzles, the getting to see the fruit of your labor so quickly. It's almost instantaneous when your code works. So anyways, and I have been actively working towards getting into a tech field since 2020. So it's been almost exactly 5 years of putting in this work. And thankfully, I had someone who has known me for a long time that was in a tech role, saw my potential, advocated for me, and then he has hired me. So it feels phenomenal to finally be leaving higher education, because once I graduated from college, I immediately started working in college offices. I have worked in several different areas of universities, at several different universities. And so I'm finally leaving it all behind for a much more rewarding field, and a field that is not so dangerously teetering on dangerous government regulations that could seriously hinder the education experience and quality for people across the country. So higher education has its benefits of being like on the employee side, but I have far too many concerns about the future of where higher education is going to be allowed to be. So it could not be a better opportunity and a better time for me to be getting out of working as a state employee here in Idaho and as a public university employee. So I'm really glad to be moving on, and I don't know, it's been so long that it feels weird to think about that I finally have succeeded in this endeavor, and that I'll be working in a tech position really soon. I can't tell you the kind of relief or like just like load dropped from finally getting that offer letter and like just feeling the weights come off. It has felt amazing knowing that all this work for 5 years has finally paid off. So, man, it just feels so relaxing to even say it out loud too. All right, enough rambling. Those are the three things that have been on my mind all week, consistently, and pervading every free moment I have. Thank you for joining me for Saturday Morning Coffee, and I'm going to go ahead and leave you off with a song recommendation this week. And this week's song recommendation is The Distance by Cake. And that's it. I will see you next weekend.